below, my jewels and gems, my precious stones, my undiscovered diamonds. Make sure you hit the notification bell. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you. That way you can know when I always upload. If you are new to my channel, and I always say if you are a jewel, a gem, a diamond. Ooh, no, I messed up. Let me start again. If you are a jewel, a gem, a precious stone, or a diamond, we're all in this career journey together. That's why I say start where you are, even if you mess up, because sometimes we will just mess up, but we carry on. Today's video is about pre-employment assessments. This is going to be a job seeker centered video, mainly because pre-employment assessments are something that have always been there. Depending on the position you're applying for, you might have certain type of tests, and whether it's a physical test, depending on the other ones, you might have a physical exam, a written exam, computer-based test, or a combination of all of them. And this video is designed to assist you through that process and give you a couple of tips and recommendations from my past experience on both sides of the table that could help you. And the first thing I have written down is to research the type of test associated with the position that you are applying for. Many clerical positions, everyone knows that if an administrative assistant position becomes available, then what I've seen on my end as an HR person, and what I've seen on the end of me being without a job and looking for a job, those jobs, you can have one position, you're going to get at least a couple hundred applicants. So one of the ways that a lot of people or companies narrow down all those applications is with assessment tests. They're either going to be an assessment test right there with the application. Sometimes you'll get an interview to come in and take an assessment test, or other times the assessment test will be included after you've interviewed, but before the job offer is made, either computer-based or written. It could be any kind of way. But you want to at least make sure you're researching what that position's assessment test would be. In a clerical position, we know you're going to have to take a typing test. Most people require 35 to 40 words per minute, depending on the job. So just keep that in mind. Other clerical exams, and again, this is just an example, they're going to require a pre-employment assessment with Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft Access, PowerPoint, Excel. So you just want to make sure that you cater your research to the job that you're applying for. The next tip that I have is to find practice exams on the pre-employment assessments that are related to the job. A lot of practice exams are free online, but you're only going to get about 3 to 10 practice exam questions. The exams that'll help you, or excuse me, the prep test that will help you with a pre-employment assessment is mainly going to be for a small fee, and those will be full exams, whether it's a book, a computer test, a computer-based test, or if you go in and work with someone. Those tests give you a little bit more detail. They give you detailed explanations on why answers were correct or incorrect, and they tell you what you can improve on and the things that you do well. And it's important to review. If you go the way of a paid prep test or prep assessment to prepare for taking that pre-employment assessment, always review what you are strong and weak at, and make sure that if you're weak in something, you bring those deficiencies up, and that'll boost your confidence on the day that you take the pre-employment exam. My next tip is to remember that potential employers, to be fair, they cannot tell you exactly what's on the test. People are really smart and they're really good at researching. And if an employer gives certain details, that's going to give one person an advantage over the other one. But you always want to make sure that you are familiar with the information. Again, you've researched what the test is that could possibly be associated with your position that you're hiring, or the assessment, not a test. You've researched it, you either found your free practice test or you paid for one, and now you've taken the test, you've reviewed it, and you know that your employer or potential employer, because this can happen too as well if you are already with the company and want to move up, there's an assessment test within as well. You always want to remember that they can't tell you what's on the test for validity and fairness. I myself, again, when I was laid off many years ago and was seeking employment, I had a temp agency that I worked with, and I believe it was two. One temp agency had a computer-based test, a series of computer-based tests to schedule some time. Went and took those in, and when my applications and my resumes went out, my skills test went with it also. That's another way of terming these tests, assessments or skills tests. When I went to another agency for assistance with getting placed, this agency had me complete a written paper exam, and just like grade school, and they graded it and stuck it in there. That way they knew what jobs to place me with or to send my resumes out with. So these are things that they've always been done. It's just, it's picking up more steam to help people. Next is the computer-based tests the computer-based assessments that most companies utilize. From what I've seen in my experience on both sides of the desk, have all had items built in there to tell you what your strengths and weaknesses are. So again, if you can get a practice test, you can have that information so that you can work on it. So when you've gone to this assessment appointment, taken the assessment, and if it's computer-based, you already know what strengths and weaknesses that you needed to work on. You've already worked through those, so you should get a better score once you've taken this assessment at your potential employer's place of business. And my last and final tip is to don't do nothing. Don't leave it to chance, and don't say, well, I think I'm going to be good. I'll be fine. Doing nothing, it works out for a very small few group of people. Personally, I don't live in the realm of the exception. I live in the realm of everyone but the exception. So there are a few people that say, oh, I'm just going to wing it, and they do fine. But for me and my personal experience, I can only recommend to prepare, because I haven't had many times in my life where I have gone out for a position and did not prepare for it and done well. I can actually remember being surprised that I did not prepare for one particular assessment with a PowerPoint test, an Excel test, and even though I felt my way through it, it was hard because I did not prepare for that particular software in advance. And luckily, and again, that's why I say this has not worked out for me many times. Luckily, on that particular exam, that particular company, years ago, I ended up being the only person to pass the test, and that is because I took the full time that they had given me to pass the assessment. Assessment. If you hear me say test in this video, please substitute it for assessment, because these pre-employment assessments are just designed to let employers know where you are, what you can work on, what your strengths and what your weaknesses are, excuse me. And these assessments are designed for you to know what your strengths and weaknesses and things that you can work on. They are here to make us better if we're great candidates. And if a candidate is not a great candidate, it does give them that information on what they need to work on. And that's important, because if they really want to work on it, this is something that could help them acquire those skills. And remember, always boost your confidence by trying to prepare. I can't say it enough. And just remember to start where you are, even if you mess up.